Hey everyone, this is Nick with Us versus Herd. I wanted to go over some charting signals on the daily chart and some signals that I use to be bearish or bullish on the daily chart. And this is not really a long-term plan. This is more of a short-term plan. If you're trading daily, weekly, typically I don't hold positions for more than 48 to 72 hours. I mainly trade short-term. So that being said, I just wanted to show you some signals that I use for being bearish or bullish. And in the background here, we have SPX, which is the S&P 500 index. If you don't know, you can trade the S&P 500 with SPX, or you could do the SPY. But in this example, I'm just going to take SPX because I traded some options on it today, and I just want to show you an example of why I chose what I chose and how I executed that trade. Now, if you take a look here, we'll just talk about today. As you can see, pretty volatile lately. You know, we gapped up. Let me zoom out a little bit here so you can see. So this, just to explain some background, yesterday sold off a little bit, had a red day, then we gapped up, and then it went down almost 10 points, went down about 8 points at the low here, and then scaled back up, and then sold off at close. And what people ask me sometimes is, how do you know to be bullish? How do you know to be bearish? And you know, there's a lot of things. Obviously, you have to take for account political events. If it's a stock, you could be bearish or bullish versus, you know, do they have earnings coming up? Do they have bad news? Blah blah blah. But this is mainly SPX. I just wanted to give something neutral, so that way you can understand how I trade an actual daily chart. And these are what you're looking at here is a 15-minute candle. These are 15-minute candles. I don't ever trade the 5-minute candle, the 1-minute candle. I only use the 15-minute candle as a chart, mainly because I find that it gives it enough time to realize what the market is going to do. I mean, you may have your own style, but this style has been proven to be effective for myself. And what I like to do to gain a bullish or a bearish position on the daily chart is to let this first 15-minute candle close and then make an assumption. I typically don't put a trade on in the first, typically I don't put a trade on unless in the first hour and a half. I kind of let the stock market play out. As you can see here today, that was a good idea. Let some candles close, give it time. You don't have to rush into a trade. You don't have to trade just to trade. You don't have to rush into a trade. And in this case, if you were to rush into a trade and say, okay, if you're looking at these three bars here, oh, we're green, 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 looks like it's going to head higher, you know, and then you would have just lost some money because it just sold off, and then it never actually came back up to this point again today. And let me show you a quick signal on being bullish or bearish, you know, depending on how the chart's working out. Obviously, this is more of a bearish chart, but it's also a neutral chart. So let me show you, let me get the drawings here. Actually, let's zoom in on today. We'll just look at today. And like I said, let's draw some lines here. Let me get my line tool. So what I like to do here on this first 15, I like to see where I draw lines where the stock opened and closed. So this is the 15-minute candle here. It opened here, closed here. So let's just draw some lines here. And then let's draw some more. Let's get this bubble. Okay. Now I just drew those lines. Let's go back to the pointer here so I can point to what's going on here. So actually, I wasn't really spot on with that, but that's okay. Same idea, or we can probably move it up. I can't move it up. Okay, so let's just take this for instance. So I drew a line at the height and the low of the candle here. So this is the high of the candle. This is the low of the candle, and you can start seeing some trends here. So what I do is, if it is below the low of the candle, that's bearish. If it is above the high of the candle, it is bullish. And if it breaks the high of the candle and doesn't break above it, I say that's bearish. And if it starts breaking above this and keeps bouncing off this line here, I would then probably put a bullish position on. But in this case, I shorted some SPX calls, so I'm short SPX right now on the SP 500, mainly just for the next few days, just because of this chart alone. And as you can see here, the stock was around 10 a.m. Let's see, 9:30 a.m. It broke this. It broke this line here, the high of the 15-minute candle, and then as you can see here, pretty much stopped there to a T. As you can see, look, the next candle, it had some resistance there as well. And then I would have put a shorter position on right here just based on this. I wasn't here trading this morning, so I put a trade on later, and I'll show you the signal that I did for that one. And as you can see, that would have paid off pretty much immediately. After that, in the next 45 minutes, it just kept dropping. And you probably off this trade here, you probably would have cashed out, probably would have netted 50% or more selling call options on that. But what I put a trade on over here, and I'll just show you for an example. So now it started to come back, and you can say, oh, it's coming back. This is, a lot of people get bullish when they start seeing stuff like this. But if you base on this, yes, it broke above here, but it did not break above here. So it broke above the low of the 15-minute candle. It broke above the low of the 15-minute candle, but it couldn't push higher than the high of the candle. So this would still be bearish to me. So if it can't break above here, that's pretty bearish. So when I did, then it came down, and then it started to come back up again. It tried another attempt, and this is when I put the trade on. I sold some, as you can see here, I sold some October 4th call. So I actually chose a little bit longer out just to make sure I was right. We do have some bullish momentum, but I'm mainly bearish right now. But I put it on right here because it was trying to break through again. But as you can see here, my alert, I set an alert at 25:05, mainly because I usually give myself a 5-point spread on SPX to be right or wrong. And this is in case that I'm wrong. It's just my plan was to get out at 25:05. So when you get into a trade, you have to have a plan getting in, but you also have to have a plan getting out when that trade starts going against you. But you also have the plan going out in terms of when to get out, when to take profits, and I typically take profits at 50%. So that's why I put this trade on. That's just a quick summary of using the intraday charting and using the 15-minute chart to signal a bearish or bullish position. If you learned anything from this, comment below. If you have questions, comment below, like, and subscribe.